Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Beautiful You Show. Today I am here to do a book review for you guys. So I feel like my thing is tilted. I read this book probably about a month and a half, almost 2 months ago. I first saw her on Super Soul Sunday. I think I saw, what did I see? Commercial. I saw it somewhere. I forget where, because I'm only saying that because we don't have cable, so I'm trying to remember how I would have seen it. But I did listen to her interview or podcast on the Super Soul Sunday podcast, and it was really good. So it got me interested in reading the book. And so this is the book, if you can see my phone. It is called Educated, a memoir, and it's by Tara Westover. This book is really good. It really is. What the book is about. So it's about this really strict Mormon family, but it's not about their religion, if you can kind of understand that. But you do need to understand that they're a strict religious Mormon sect to kind of understand how the influences and the thinking came about. But let's see. So it's a story about a husband and a wife, and then I think they have about 5 or 6 children, and they live in Idaho, and the dad is like a doomsday prepper. So once you keep reading the book, you start to realize that the dad kind of exhibits signs of paranoia. So he believes that the government is out to get them. The government is like a bad entity. They're always conspiring. They just want to harm the people, take the people away. And so they don't like anything to do with the government. The kids, most of them don't have birth certificates. They don't go to school. They're supposed to be homeschooled by the mom, but it wasn't as if there was like a structured school situation. So they pretty much just worked all day with the dad. And the dad owned this junkyard, and so he did like scrap metal, and then he built different things for like different families. The mom in the book, or the wife of the husband, eventually becomes a midwife, and it's not through any medical training. It's just a skill that was passed down by the former midwife. And the mom also becomes huge in the essential oil business, to where they start making their own oils, and people, like, it got really big. So this is based off of a true story. That's why it's called a memoir. It's based off of a true story. Or no, it's not based off. It is a true story. So it's from the girl Tara's perspective. She was like the youngest, I would say the youngest girl in the family. I think she was the youngest child. But some of the things she described is really astounding. So they didn't go to school because of the dad's beliefs about the government. And they almost never went to the doctor because, again, with the dad's beliefs, the paranoia and stuff like that. They also, she as a girl also had to wear really strict clothing. So she couldn't wear she couldn't wear short sleeves, she couldn't wear shorts. Her head had to be covered, basically like her whole body from top to bottom, all the way to her ankles. I think in the book, there's an incident of when she tried to like roll up her sleeves because she was working in the junkyard with her dad, and her dad got really upset at her. It also talks about a situation that she has with one of her siblings, where he is, if you know anything about psychology and about abusers, the brother is a typical abuser. And you'll read about that story in the book. And then she also has this other brother that education was his way out. So he taught himself trigonometry, chemistry, English, reading, all these things. And he encouraged her to teach herself. So she ends up teaching herself enough math and English so that she can go to college. And she ends up going to college, and then she ends up seeing her family a little bit differently. So it shows you how once you're in it and you grow up with it, you don't know any different. You don't know that not everybody thinks the way you do. You don't know that the things that your father or mother might say might be different than everybody else's mother and father. And it's like she had to go to college to learn all these things. And that's when she finally kind of breaks up from her family in a sense, because one, they knew what was happening with the brother and they didn't stop it. And then two, um, they are still expecting her to listen to the dad and be as the dad says. Like he is the decider in the family. Even though he ends up not being the breadwinner, the mom is so successful with her oils business that she becomes the breadwinner, and it becomes like how the family ends up making their money, and they make a lot of money. And so I looked the family up, and it's a big deal. I think it's called like Westover oils. They still have the same last name. Some of the names in the book has changed, but this is a really good book. I recommend it for anybody. Anybody that, if you're really wanting to understand how somebody can grow up with a set of beliefs and ideas and how they can come to have their perception about the world and why it might be so different than anybody else's or than yours, it's a really good book. And if you read the book, I would also suggest watching her or listening to her podcast that she did with Oprah. And she's very, what I liked most about the author, the one that wrote the book, is she doesn't come off as bitter. She doesn't come off as somebody that's trying to get back at the family, so to speak. She sounds as somebody that is learning what is morally right from wrong, learning about the dynamics of the family, and being able to say, I'm going to have these boundaries for myself, and not coming away from it. You know, she doesn't just like, she has, and she shows you that hard balance of, you know, how do you love people that do crazy, crazy things to you? How do you still have a love for them? And she does a great balance of showing that. So I really enjoyed this book. I think anybody can enjoy this book. And I do think it's a good book for other people to see that there's other perceptions or there's other truths happening in the world. You know, there's not everybody thinks the way you do, and it's okay. It's okay. They still live their lives the way that they want to live their life, and she's decided to separate herself from that, and she still has a really thriving, fulfilling life, and it's okay. But I just wanted to share that book review with you. It's such a great book. It really is. There was, at no point was I bored. At no point was I thinking I shouldn't have read this book. I think it can touch upon all what is that, genres. She eventually falls in love. She eventually, you know, creates relationships, and you see her trying to navigate and maneuver her way through a life that she used to have, the life that she has now, with being educated, knowing, you know, that this is not typical for everybody else's family, knowing what she knows, and still trying to live her life with compassion, with knowledge. I think it's a great title because she does eventually get educated. She starts off not going to school at all, and eventually she gets a college degree, a PhD. I think she has a PhD if I'm not mistaken. But she is an author and she has a PhD, and she's doing really well for herself. She's traveling the world, sharing her book, doing book signings, book reviews. So yeah, I recommend this to anybody. And thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or you have any comments, if you read the book, I would love to hear what you think about it. But thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you again next time.